when your child is born, the placenta comes out, it is alive, and then it dies. Then the living boy, girl, son, daughter gets assigned the dead. When the mother and the father sign into that, from the second that you get here, they've spawn killed you. You have within you the power of creation itself to make and to manifest anything. That has been harnessed and weaponized against yourself and your own family and your own family line. The implications are systemic and global. Everyone has a role in this. Every living man, every living woman has a role in this.
How do we ensure that they actually acknowledge and bring forth remedy to this situation?
You are standing in truth. You are the creditor. You don't have to fight. The fight's already done. The door is open. The living just need to stand, to align, and to move forward in that truth. A bit of my background, and this is part of what makes this situation unique. So my mom and dad met in college. I was born in Nebraska. I actually saw you.
Midwestern boy?
Yeah, Kansas, right?
Kansas City, Kansas.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Nebraska. So I was born on a farm in Nebraska. And when I was born, my dad claimed the decedent, which is the placenta, the umbilical cord, and committed to the land. There's certain things that my dad did at the time, being led by spirit, that established who I am at that point and at that stage. When my original birth documents were recorded, it was a midwife, not my mom, right? That signed certain things that went across, that recorded my arrival to this world. So what that did by the decedent being claimed was the process of, as a standing nation, wherever it is that, so now we've all heard about everybody's at sea,
yes,
all of that, right? So, but in my specific case, wherever I stand is sovereign land, because I am connected to the land from my arrival.
You're not connected to the fictitious entity that is claiming jurisdiction over the land.
So now jump forward to
real quick before we jump forward. Sorry, I'm thinking in the mind of my audience as we're watching this, especially for those who are coming across this. Maybe it's their first episode ever hearing any of this. What does it mean to claim the decedent, and what is how does the placenta relate to the birth certificate, relate to you engaging in a contractual relationship, a trust being established with the fictitious corporation that is the U.S. government? Okay, so when your child, and congratulations on your child, and mine right now is, my boy is 20 months old. So when he is in the process for those 9 months, there is a twin in the womb with him, which is the placenta. Now, the placenta grows right there next to your son, next to your daughter. And when your child is born, right afterwards, the placenta comes out and it is alive, and then it dies, right? So that's why are you going to cut the umbilical cord? All of that connection there, right? So what happens is, and what the legacy system has done, was they established a way, and this is Edward Mendelhaus. He spoke about this in the letters, Fruit from a Poison Tree, Private Letters to Woodrow Wilson, where they were creating a system of pledging
Mhm.
based on the ancient system of pledging the biological materials.
Yeah.
Right?
Could you
Okay.
say that is an act of granting property into trust that is unbeknownst to us?
Yes. So what they
Yeah.
do is they take that physical material, and that is what's used for the collateral. Now, the hospitals take it under salvage, right? So
Mhm.
you didn't claim it. So under salvage rights, they claim that. They put it into their system, and then they assign a credit value to that genetic material. And then the living boy, girl, son, daughter gets assigned, because they give it a name, an all caps name, gets assigned the debt
Mhm.
to pay off for it. So the credit value goes into the system, and the debtor gets, and you get benefits, but you are a debtor
Mhm.
on behalf of that collateral. So when the mother and the father, or the parents, or the pair of renters, that's how they would consider you, right? But not the living father, the living mother. But as they sign into that, from the second that you get here, they've spawn killed you, essentially. They set you up as a slave in that system.
Mhm.
So most people, because think about how this whole thing happens. You're under duress. The last thing you want to do is set up a company while
Mhm.
you're in the middle of having a child, right?
Mhm.
That's not exactly the time you want to be putting together your corporation. So under duress, somebody comes in, oh, you need to sign this, you need to do this, you need to do that. And people go, they sign, they create this certificate.
Mm.
And then when they're done, that becomes what their living child continues to associate themselves with for their entire life, not knowing that that is not them.
Okay. And real quick on that note, because I'm following.
Yes.
I see a lot of conflicting ideas on the nature of that entity,
Mm-hmm.
that business that is set up, and also a lot of conflicting ideas how we, as the twin of that placenta, let's say, as that individual that is not the all caps name, but associates with that all caps name, relate to that business entity. So, correct me if I'm wrong, what I've currently come to understand, and I can see the argument behind this, is that because that property is granted into trust, right, being the placenta, in that relationship, because it's our energy that did that, we are the grantor, but we are also the beneficiary in that relationship. And the trustees over that estate are the state, the agents of the state, let's say. I think specifically the USAG is the trustee for all common law trusts held in trust, from my understanding, and I could be completely wrong.
Well, so this is where you had a lot of people trying to figure out, how do we relate to this system of enslavement and get a notch up, basically. So you got a lot of people that are just in it, and they're like, what is going on? What is happening? And then the people that are trying to figure it out, they're saying, how do I make this better for myself? So, okay, they
Correct.
recognize that this is going on, but then how do they make it better? How do they make their life, their experience? Can they access
What's the
this?
utility?
Yes,
in it?
what's the utility
Yeah.
of this now? They know that they're in it. What can they do about it? But think of it like this. The way that the system is set up by design, was set up by design, because now we have to start speaking in past tense because of what's already happened, right?
We'll get to that.
So the way that the system was designed, it was a boat with holes in it, and you were given a bucket with holes in it, and it's taking on water. And from the second you get here, it's like, go ahead, you got to start bailing it out, right? And what most people were trying to figure out is, okay, how can I get somebody else to bail this out for me? Can I pass off the job to somebody else? Can I get a bigger bucket? Can I plug some of the holes? But you're still on this boat that's continuously sinking, and you're still got a bucket full. And even if you can find 20 people to do the buckets for you, in the back of your head, you're still on a boat that's taking on water continuously. And that is by design. because the system itself was set up for extraction. So it didn't matter how high up you were in the system, the fact that you were on that boat and you were not on the land allowed for them to extract from you through the entire duration of your life and to steal from your life force, to steal from your energy, to steal from your destiny and your legacy by that system design in and of itself. So one thing that people should comprehend in this is, even if they might have found a way to find some sort of a workaround, what they really only did was just made a slightly more comfortable cage for themselves.
Okay, got it. And are you of the mindset that there are a variety of workarounds? What I'm trying to get at is like, sure. I've immersed myself in the, for lack of a better term, maybe this is like a colloquial term at this point, like the common law or alternative law space. And I see so many conflicting narratives.
No, of course.
And at the same time, I see people getting remedy via a variety of approaches that also, I'll have to say, doesn't appear to be 100% correct across the board or 100% successful across the board with these various approaches to obtaining remedy. When I say remedy, to discharging various debts, to renegotiating the relationship that one living man or woman has with the U.S. government or with whatever government they're living supposedly under the jurisdiction of across the world. But what are your general thoughts on that?
So there's two things in that regard. One is there is a spiritual component to this. And this is something that most people, they don't quite, because they're looking for magic pieces of paper. Right. So it's like, oh, this paper worked for this guy. Well, what about, so, I mean, in the scriptures, there's the 7 sons of Sceva, right? So there's the, this Jesus whom Paul preaches, and they start trying to use the exact same words, and then they have a very different experience, right? So there's a spiritual component to this, which requires alignment with the source of all life and truth. And when you are in that alignment and in that state of alignment, as you go forward in it, you will have a certain experience that somebody else that is not in alignment will not. And it's not about the words on paper, it's about the spiritual position there. Okay?
Totally makes sense to me.
Okay. So that said, yeah, we do, we do continue to refine as we go forward. We do continue to say, oh, we can do this a little better. We continue to mark the things that show that there were the living involved. So a glitch on a piece of paper, a postmark here, whatever it is, they'll show that we were involved, because we are all still learning in this process as we grow. So, a lot of people are looking for perfection, but that is not the nature of this life. This life is a learning, a tremendous, incredible experience. And that is part of why we came into this life and into this journey, is to go through this experience and to become the fuller version of who we are. So then from there to go on to the next.
Beautifully said. Okay. With that context, I don't
so,
even know where to go.
We got time. So jumping forward from my arrival as a standing nation, which essentially now puts the nature of conversations that would happen with me on a nation-to-nation level.
And how does that make you a standing nation, by the way?
Because,
I'm just trying to piece together the context here.
How is any nation formed? Right? Let's go back to Abraham and the Abrahamic covenant. So even with Abraham, where that conversation started was with the Most High, which was, okay, he's being called out. He's being called into, and the promise even to him was, out of you, there's going to be all these nations. Look at, and you're going to bless all the nations of the world will be blessed through you. But it was a place of alignment. It was a place of spiritual connection. And it is a place where, because of the scriptures say the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, right? The whole thing belongs to him. All of it. There is no superior claim to the source of all life that created all of this. So when a living man or a living woman is established before him in spirit and in truth, and in this regards, backed up by a natural process where the very ground under my feet was committed to at my arrival, and my connection with the Most High has endured, let somebody else from a lesser jurisdiction challenge that.
Right.
Right? Let any nation of the world challenge that. Now, we talked about the Midwest. Star, Nebraska has a population of 2 people. It's a town in Nebraska, right? I mean, there are small towns. It's still, there's plenty of countries in the UN General Assembly that are tiny little nations.
Right.
Doesn't give them any lesser of standing as a nation.
Right.
Right. So in that regards, now we're just talking about in terms of law and standing. Now move forward to the arrival of my son. So when my son was born, we ended up in a hospital situation, and it wasn't necessarily the ideal way that we would have wanted to, for our son to arrive. But before,
were you attempting a home birth originally?
Well, we were considering different things, but we also had to work with, the way that everything unfolded. So in that regard, we went in there with a plan that was given to the hospital in advance of, a lot of different things in there, including the genetic material.
Right. So the placenta.
The placenta, the umbilical cord, no consent to any of these draws, all of that. We just laid out in white and blue. Not black and white, blue. So all of that was given to the hospital. And bless their heart, they followed it. And also including in that was, we wanted a record that wasn't Capitalus Maximus. Now, Capitalus Maximus is what you use on tombstones to create a corporation. If you were doing slavery, like it's all caps names, right? So we put that in our plan. And so the attending physician, the RN, my wife and I, all signed in our family Bible for the arrival of our child, which has been how in this nation for hundreds of years, people recorded births of their children. And if you needed to, you can use a Form DS-11 with the Department of State to, that is a form of requesting travel documents, right? Okay. So that was part of our experience in the hospital. And when we left the hospital, I left with every piece of genetic material. We left with that.
Got it.
And took that home with us. For my wife is a brilliant homeopath, by the way. So
wow, my wife's studying to be a homeopath right now too.
Yeah, and so part of it was because she knows how to design homeopathic remedies with that. So a custom homeopathic remedy for our son for the rest of his life, based off the placenta. I love you, Amrita. And but part of now everybody knows the placenta, and they're getting to know how valuable the placenta is.
Right.
$50,000, $500,000 street value, all of this stuff, but they don't know the inherent true spiritual value and connection that has to the child. Okay. So we took that home with us. But during the process of us going through that system, and my radar was up all the time because I could see these attempts. There was another set of people that just kept coming in around this birth certificate. Now, I was not, I'm not looking for confrontation, anything like that. I just utilized equity, which is asking questions. And I kept asking questions that nobody could answer. And so I said, I'm happy to talk to anybody that can answer these specific questions.
Can you give me an example of one or two of them?
Well, one of them was, can you show me an example of, well, I noticed the name is in all caps. Well, my birth record doesn't have a all caps name on it. Is it possible to get this done in lowercase? Oh, I'm not sure. We've never had anybody ask us that before. Oh, well, could I ask somebody that could answer that question for me? Sure, that our such and such will be in later. I'll have her come by.
Got it.
Right. So, so that's just an example. We don't need to take Black's Law Dictionary out and bang it on the floor. We can just ask questions to get resolution, because ultimately we're in a distress situation. You know, nobody slept. Everybody's on edge. And I would like just some answers. That's all. So in the process of going through all of that, you know, we received our medical discharge. And at that stage, the birth certificate people had, you know, come in and out a bunch of times. And so I said, I will take the paperwork that you would like me to take, and I will consider it. You're asking me to start a company.
Right.
I'm not saying those words, but you're asking me, but I'll consider it. I'll take it with me. And I said, how long do I have? And they said the number of days. That's fine. So I know where you are, you know where I am. And that was the conclusion of, so that was me not creating a birth certificate.
Got it.
Okay. So my wife and I did not consent. There was no signatures. There was no name for the corporation. That so in that regard, because you know, part of it was, you know, not 100% sure on how we're going to do all of that. So we want to think about this, because you are always allowed to think about this. You shouldn't do anything under compulsion.
Right.
Right. And so, yeah. So after that, it was about, let's see, it was within a year though. It was maybe about 10, 11 months in after we were starting to think about traveling. And
did you contact Vital Check?
So, and then that's when we found out about that there was something that was now in the system.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. My name wasn't on it. They only put my wife's name on it. And they had labeled this document Infant Deserum, which is my wife's last name is Deserum, right? And so in the process of, again, asking questions, going through inquiry, there was this document. They wouldn't let me see it, but they verified that it was there. And because it's on the computer, but they won't let me face my way. And they kept wanting us to contract in to clear it up, right? And the thing is, if you contract into a fraud, you cover the fraud, right? So there was, but I was trying to find a way. Is there a way to remedy this without becoming part of this fraudulent act? So,
and it was a fraud because they created this document despite you multiple times.
It was, you cannot create a security without somebody signing for it in law and in commerce. You can't create you know, where is the signature? Where's the sign of nature? Who is the creditor? Who's the one that's standing behind this? So,
and is there any relationship to the establishment of this to the placenta?
Well, so here's the thing. Because the decedent was claimed, because all of that left with me, because like they didn't want to acknowledge that my wife and I are married. We've been married for, you know, 8 wonderful years. Like, I mean, I have a daughter, and you know, my daughter's 6. You know, so they didn't want to acknowledge our wife and I. So they kept wanting us to do something to create jurisdiction for them, right? So we were married overseas. So we don't have a quote unquote license, which is permission to do something that's otherwise illegal. You know, we don't have a marriage license. Like we were born outside this, or we were married outside this country. So, so in the process of going through and finding out, okay, this thing has been created. There's no consent, no disclosure, and RICO now is being triggered because of engagement across multiple organizations that would have created the document and moved the document. So that's also a very important piece in this, because RICO statutes now carry significant financial implications. So what happened was I got to a certain stage of working to try to figure out, is there a way to cure this without contracting in? And no, I'm not going to make my son a debt slave for a corporation out for my convenience or for their convenience or whatever it is. So at that point, when I realized that they were testing to see, do I know who I am and do I know what's actually going on? That was the process where this moved into the notice of liability process. And then subsequently following up with what most people now, millions of people around the world are now aware of, which is the UCC1 filings and the rest of it that happened. So when I filed the original notice of liability, what I did was that went to the Vital Statistics Department, where they now needed to prove that this document, now listen, if it was just a record of a birth and was not used for anything, it would have not been an issue. If it was lawfully created, they would have been able to turn around and say, here you go, this is how it was lawfully created, done. But what happened was when I gave the notice of liability to the Vital Statistics Department, I copied the President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Texas Attorney General, making them material witnesses to the notice of liability that went to so these would primarily be people that would block for the system. Now they are now bound as material witnesses in honor to have to rectify this. Okay? So now, once the notice of liability was now put in the works, I filed a UCC1, a Uniform Commercial Code, on the UCC1 filing on the instrument itself, which was infant disserum, right?
And what does UCC1 filing do for those who are unfamiliar?
It shows a secure party creditor status with an interest in this document, right? And so what I was doing is I was now bringing that out there, that this was created in fraud. And so now I am giving everyone that's associated with it the chance to clear it up, right? But I have to go through this process. You can't just, see, there's a lot of people out there that they just want to go out there and scream, protest, carry a sign, hit somebody, shoot somebody. Like they're out there. No, you can resolve these things with equity, in law, in spirit, but you got to take the time to go through the process. And part of going through this was, the first thing we did was file the UCC1 on March 5th. The second thing was, in the middle of that, was the Vital Statistics Department couldn't cure it. So what they tried to do was, what they did was they sent back the packet to my wife. Now, how is she how are you sending it back to my wife if we're not married in their eyes? Anyways, but without rebutting any of the things that were inside the notice of liability, by sending it back to me, they confirmed the fraud. And that was the UCC3 that was filed, connecting and linking to the UCC1, the fraud being now proven and put on record with the President of the United States, the Attorney General of the United States, and the Texas Attorney General all being material witnesses to the fact. That is what then was promulgated for the 30-day public notice run that went into the newspaper run and the global press publication.
Okay.
So in order for something to become positive law, you have to publish it. You can't just, you can have private matters and private remedy, but if you're going to have a systemic change, you have to publish. And so by publishing it, what we did was we gave everybody that was connected the chance to cure or to rebut, over that period of time. And then once we hit the cut date, then now it is sealed, fact in law, post estoppel.
Couple things on that.
Yeah.
The first thing is, in this journey, in this process that you're doing, because you have a unique standing, does that give you this unique ability to essentially call them out on their fraud?
It does.
And why? Because I know other people, for example, just on that note, who did not wish to have a birth certificate created. Maybe they were attempting a home birth, or maybe they, did a home birth, but told the midwife, they had a licensed midwife there, and they're like, hey, we still don't want to do birth certificate. And the midwife was like, yeah, okay. But then the midwife is, wanting to keep their license, and per their license, they have to fill out a birth certificate.
Yes.
So they did anyway and went through all the documentation. Is that in and of itself still fraudulent, or is it because you're standing as a living man because you never had a birth certificate in the system created in that same manner that makes you unique? You see what I'm asking?
Yes, no, I know exactly what you're asking. Okay. And they did create a certificate for me, but it was it wasn't a birth certificate, it was a certificate of live birth signed by the midwife.
Completely different thing.
So it's a different situation there. But in this regard, you're absolutely right, because I went through the process of also establishing my son as a standing nation, committing the decedent to the earth, along with other processes that happened there. So when they tried to create this fraudulent security on my son, Leo, what they were doing was attempting to conscript and to attempt fraud on the son of a standing nation. I mean, you can't get any worse in international treaty and nation-to-nation activity than that.
Okay.
So by going forward in this process, that is why it's escalated to the level of frauding out the Vatican, the Bank of International Settlements, the Crown, London Corporation. Their claim over the United States that was set up all the way back to 1776. So we've got now provided that. So the Crown has no claim anymore over this nation. It doesn't.
Let's get to that.
Yes, we'll get to all of that. No, there's yes.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, for those who are not familiar with Mike Cardamone, he's here off camera.
Luckily for you guys.
Yeah.
Luckily
we're
for you
glad to
guys.
have him.
He's appeared on a few episodes of The Way Forward, but he's who actually introduced me to Govinda. So, Mike, what's your question?
So I think it's important to go into what the notice said, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, what they had to rebut and the conditions if they weren't to do so, because that's what allowed you, based on what you've written in there, to fraud out not only your son's birth certificate, but the connection to all of the birth certificates.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what Mike said off camera is that it's important to go into what the notice of liability submitted by Govinda actually said, because what was in the notice that they didn't rebut, but acknowledged that they received it, right, by them sending correspondence back to you. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah.
That's how they acknowledged that they received it very clearly, right? So what was in the notice?
So we have the notice.
Okay.
Give me a second. Let me grab it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. This was after it was recorded. This goes from the county clerk of Travis County, addressed back to the P.O. box here. If you notice the postmark date on there, the postmark date was sent back to us on April 4th, 2025. Okay, so this is the original UCC 1 filing, right? Okay, so, and I put a couple other things in there that are my notes here.
And remind me, is this different than the notice of liability?
Yes, this is different.
Different than the notice of liability.
Because here's, and I'm going to give you a visual demonstration shortly so you can understand what happened when this went out. Okay, so this is the barcode that they issue when they put this out. 7th page, there's the seal. You want to take a look?
Verify that this.
So just verify that those are all authentic, original. This is the receipt. Well, actually, this is a copy of the receipt that we got notarized here because it started to. And Mike was actually there when we got an affidavit put in because we were experiencing obstruction and record tampering. Right. This is the publisher's affidavit for the promulgation that took place. Okay. Is all there and in order?
Yeah.
Okay. And
I'm still trying to figure out the what this means, though, the implications.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah. Okay.
we'll get into the implications. Okay, so let's see. It does get a little bit long, but
it's okay. I mean, maybe you could read some of the highlights because this is also on your Substack, right?
Okay, so this here right now, if anybody wants to read this, Substack number 78, which dropped yesterday. Okay, I'm going to show you just how easy.
Yesterday as of this recording.
And so, but I'm going to show you just how easy it is for you sitting at home. No, kidding. For you to go and verify this for yourself. So Substack number 78, and there's a reason these are numbered, right? Okay, so here is Substack 78. At the top of Substack 78, there's a nice, beautiful QR code, right? So that QR code will take you directly to burned on Ethereum mainnet. You will be able to see this full packet, the CID, through an IPFS gateway. You'll be able to read for yourself, word for word, what is now part of the global public ledger, right? So this is now part of the global public ledger. Unless they remove the blockchain, they're not getting rid of this, right? So here is a few different pieces that are in here. One was, I'll just read you the opening and then we can edit this down as we need to later. But this is Law of Redemption and Irrevocable Claim, UCC Public Notice and Declaration. Lawful public notice of claim, revocation, and restoration of rights. Whereas a fraudulent document has been unlawfully created and utilized without proper authorization in the name Infant Deserum, and whereas neither Govinda Tidball nor Amrita Deserum, the lawful father and mother, signed any document used to create this birth certificate, this notice establishes a lawful and public claim over all assets, transactions, and derivatives associated with said document, and set forth a framework for all similarly affected individuals to reclaim their rightful status and property. Claim and information. I, Govinda Tidball, a living man, sui juris, claiming all rights noct pro-tunct, come in honor and good faith. I claim my lawfully wedded wife, Amrita Deserum. I claim my children, Tia Tidball and Leo Tidball. I claim my son. I claim the decedent of my son. I claim my property under Abrahamic law, the highest standing law on earth. Okay. Statement of fraud and basis for claim. The fraudulent birth certificate in question was created without lawful consent by the father and mother, and the fraud was perpetuated against the standing nation. On February 19, 2025, an initial notice of liability and notice of tacit agreement was sent to the Texas Department of State Health Services Vital Statistics, with sender receipt copies to the President of the United States of America, U.S. Attorney General, and Texas Attorney General. Having failed to meet the demand for proof within the 10-day deadline and failing to cure, all parties duly notified now possess material knowledge of fraud and through tacit agreement confirm fraud, identity theft, natural rights violations, loss of parental rights, obstruction of justice, misprision of fraud, misprision of felony, and RICO. Basis for claim is under the maxim of law. Fraud vitiates everything. This fraudulent document is therefore null and void ab initio, and all financial instruments, transactions, and derivatives products derived from its unlawful use must be immediately disclosed, accounted for, and returned to the living, along with full commercial and lawful consequences for all parties, institutions, and fiduciaries involved in the fraud. Claim and demand. Full disclosure, immediate and complete disclosure of all financial instruments, transactions, and entities that have utilized or relied upon the fraudulent document. All disclosures must be provided under sworn affidavit under penalty of perjury. Failure to meet these conditions automatically renders the claim of fraud unrebutted and valid in law. 3x RICO penalties, enforcement of treble damages under Racketeering, Influenced, and Corruption Organization Act, RICO, for all parties involved in the perpetuation of fraud. Additionally, all responsible fiduciaries, institutions, and entities that have participated in, facilitated, or profited from the fraudulent use, trading, or derivative products tied to this birth certificate must be fully disclosed and held to account. The naming of these parties, along with their sworn affidavits under penalty of perjury, shall be a required component of any lawful cure or remedy. Asset and transaction seizure. A lawful claim over all assets, transactions, derivatives, and property connected to the fraudulent document until full remedy and redress has been satisfied. 4. Public right of reference. Any living man or woman who has been subjected to a similar fraudulent process may reference this notice of lawful grounds to declare their own birth certificate or related fraudulent instrument or related obligations null and void. 5. Restoration of property to the living. All financial instruments, assets, seized assets, and transactions must be lawfully restored to the living men and women who have been defrauded. First in time, first in line. The undersigned claimant holds the primary right to restoration, ensuring precedence in reclaiming assets and property. Only those who come with clean hands and in equity may receive restored assets, barring all fraudulent actors and corporate entities from reasserting claims. From this point forward, said assets shall remain in the hands of the living. Issuance of black passports as remedy. As a direct consequence to the fraudulent birth record, its unauthorized use, the ability of my household to travel has been unlawfully obstructed. Remedy is required in the form of immediate and unconditional issuance of full diplomatic travel credentials, black passports, to myself, my wife, and my children. Failure to comply will result in further liability, including the lawful seizure of assets held by the U.S. State Department, including but not limited to the facilities in which these records are processed, for the purpose of curing the harm caused by these obstructions. 7. Global asset redemption rights. All assets, financial instruments, and property tied to the fraudulent financial system, derivatives, and transactions being built upon unlawful and fraudulent pledging are subjected to immediate redemption and reallocation. The issuance of black passports to myself, my wife, and my children shall serve as a lawful and irrevocable recognition of my standing nation status and my family's exemption from any foreign jurisdiction. These credentials shall function as proof of claim in all redemption processes worldwide. Any refusal to acknowledge this status or obstruct redemption shall constitute willful fraud, misprision of felony, and active engagement in commercial dishonor subject to immediate enforcement, lien execution, and lawful seizure of assets. Shall I keep going?
I have a few questions.
Yeah, because there's 4 more pages.
Yeah. Let's save that for people to reference, like if they want to continue reading the rest of the UCC filing. Okay, so you mentioned in there any man or woman who has undergone a similar fraudulent process. That's paraphrased, obviously, but
sure.
If my memory serves me correctly, they're able to do the same thing. How do I ask this?
Well, they're able to reference that.
Yes, because it's public record.
They're able to reference this because it's public record. And I guess that goes back to the original point original question that I had regarding your unique standing.
Yeah.
Were other men and women able to do this same thing previous to this UCC filing?
No.
Okay. It's because this UCC filing. Okay. So my question is then, like, why is it not fraudulent in and of itself for a mother or father who are like, I refuse to sign any of this, and let's say they do the same process, like put out public notice, put the hospital on notice, put vital statistics or vital check on notice, et cetera, saying, I do not want any of these documents established. I do not consent to this. Why is that?
So we went
not
through
fraud?
In the Substack, and this is, again, all these things that I will be discussing, the bulk of them have been covered in depth in the Substack.
Yeah.
But one of the things in the Substack that we discussed was the reason why so many other people's efforts prior to this have come up short.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is because of, many of them are starting inside the corporate jurisdiction anyways.
Okay.
So they're starting from a slave standing, and they're
Okay.
angry about their status, but it's like, well, how are you going to clear that up?
That makes sense. Okay.
Another one is people cut short periods. They may have put somebody on notice, but that was it. It stopped there. It fizzled out. They didn't go through giving the time for the other side to cure, giving the time for rebuttal. falling into one of several of other procedural traps. Even in the way that this UCC1 was brought forward, they had to cure. They can't waste my time in legalese traps.
Mm-hmm.
So if they were
because you are not under their jurisdiction.
Because if they are not curing, they are now participating in misprision of fraud, misprision of felony. So misprision of fraud is when you know about a fraud, but upon knowing about the fraud, instead of clearing up the fraud, you actually become an active participant in it.
Got it.
And you work to try to cover it. So the problem is for them with this, which was if they are now showing up to try to cover for the fraud, well, they're now bound by the charges for misprision of fraud and misprision of felony that are in here.
Okay.
So you'd be surprised how thin my mailbox actually is in this entire process because of how few want to engage. They don't want to sign anything. The last thing they want is their signature on anything. So it may come from a nondescript, customer service department or something like that. Because they're, as much as possible, they've been trying to find some way around this because they've read the UCC1.
Got it. Another question then is, and I seem to be kind of hung up myself on the placenta because I've always thought of that as the collateral or the property that is granted into trust, right? And maybe I'm incorrect on that. I don't really know. But does the placenta, the fact that you claimed the decedent and took it with you, play any role in this whatsoever? Or is it more that because you did not sign, nor did your wife sign any of the documents, or is it both?
It's all of it.
Okay.
So it's all of it together.
Because the placenta does establish, is granted into
so they'll
as
look,
property into
what
trust.
they'll do is they'll look for some place where they can say, we got a hook here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so in one of those is the biological material that is granted as property into trust.
So the biological material, which the hospital would treat under salvage laws, because you didn't want it, so you left it here, so they picked it up and they took it, and that's under salvage property. So they would use any of those things. They'll use anything.
So that is an act, just to be clear, though, that could be considered an act of, because the other thing with law from my current position, based on what I've researched, is that it's all about interpretation and how well you argue the interpretation and in terms of their codes, acts, and statutes, maybe not like the law. And with that, an argument could be made that the placenta is property that is granted into trust by us as the grantors, unbeknownst to us, which then brings up were the 6 or 7 tenets of a contract met?
Yes. So here's the ultimately law is based on truth. And so derivatives of law, so natural law, common law, maritime law, like these different areas that, for example, if you're on a boat and you have 200 people on this boat and they all of a sudden see dolphins on the left side and everybody runs to that side of the boat, you need a captain on the ship telling people, look, the weight distribution, you're about to tip us all over and everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
So you do need to function different on a boat than you would on the land.
Yeah.
So there is a different way for operation at sea versus on land.
Okay.
And so there are appropriate jurisdictions for appropriate interactions.
Makes sense.
The issue that we have on land, Revelation 13, is the beast comes out of the water onto the land. And so what has happened is this beast system that came out of the water and onto the land and converted the living into property through that entire system and interplay. And just like we were talking before we started shooting, our children will grow up in a world where they only know the internet.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm old enough to know dial-up. I'm old enough to know, letters and post and the rest of it.
Yep.
So in that regard, it doesn't take long for certain things that are brought in, especially when they wipe out knowledge of what used to be there. It doesn't take very long for people to just say, this is just the way it's always been.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've always done things this way.
So I'm hung up on the placenta being granted. I think like that is the case though, right? That is one example of a few examples where that could be used as property granted into trust.
Yes.
That's how they consider it.
It is tied into Edward Mendel House, private letters to Woodrow Wilson, where they are using the biological material to establish the pledge relationship and the enslavement of this country and the people of this nation.
That makes it a lot clearer in my mind, because it's very clear now they can't have properly established a trust because there was no property that you left there at all for them to grant into trust, and then they still went ahead and established one.
And one of the issues that they have is because they are segmented, right? Mm-hmm. And because they keep everybody in their little box.
Yeah.
And nobody knows the role that they play in the larger system.
Nor do any of the people, the clerks, the secretaries, any of the people know any of this stuff. They just know that, I got this from the hospital. I'm supposed to do this and pass it on to the next organization, and the next agency.
And so their assumption in the system is like, well, somebody claimed the placenta.
Yeah.
Somebody signed this. It wouldn't have gotten here unless somebody did. And so that procedure and passing through, not knowing what they're part of.
Yep. Makes sense.
But, for example, just how things become normalized. So this is a silver dollar from,
pre-1933?
1883, right?
Awesome.
So 1883, now you've got that one, and then you got this one, right? Okay. If I was to put these both on the table and we were to walk away, which one holds value and which one doesn't?
Most people have no clue, but the one on the right holds value, the one on the left doesn't.
Okay, but
I see it.
Yes, but this was a transition. Now, on this one, you've got on the top Federal Reserve note, and you've got the United States of America, right? Well, most people wouldn't know that the first one is listing as the creditor, and the second one is listing as the debtor. And the word note on there is a negotiable instrument. And yet, how many people are spending every moment of every day chasing this, and they don't even know what they're carrying in their pocket or the significance of it, or what does it mean, right? They don't know the transition from this. And this was actually not even a great thing. This was people that had stocks of silver that were trying to figure out a way to offload them. And so this was but this is early stages.
Yeah.
But as you're moving from this lawful money to this fiat, now, by the way, CBDCs are dead based on the information in this program today. So CBDCs have already died. They're just operating on inertia right now. They don't have collateral anymore. It's gone. I'm just going to finish this last line from the UCC one, which was before we get into the rebuttal and cure process. But it said, the last line on page 3 says, any and all financial entities, agencies, and corporate bodies failing to comply shall be deemed as operating in bad faith and held accountable under commercial and lawful jurisdiction. Right? Now, I want you to
aiding and abetting the fraud, essentially.
So in the process, now when a UCC1 filing is recorded, you got to go in from somewhere in the world. So wherever it is, that's your port of entry. So the county was just the port of entry into the global UCC filing system, right?
Yeah, like I know of some people who use the state of Colorado because it's the easiest way to put something like to make a UCC amendment.
Yeah, so in that regard, but that was the port of entry into the global UCC system.
Got it.
Right? And since that time, there were, and thank you, Mike, for joining me on that day, but there's been attempts at the county level to obstruct access to the record that was put on file there, because they don't want people to see what now the whole world can see in Substack number 78. Scan the QR code, you have it, right? But they didn't want people to see what was actually there because people know they have a right of reference. They know that the fraud is now there on record. Let me show you visually what happened.
Okay. Deep sleep, or NREM sleep, is crucial for our body's daily rejuvenation, repair, and overall well-being. And unfortunately, most people fail to get enough of this essential phase of sleep. It's responsible for some pretty crucial functions, including daily rejuvenation and repair, regulating cravings, weight loss, hormone balance, boosting energy, and more. If you're not getting enough deep sleep, you may struggle with some of the issues that I listed. There are several factors at play, including things like non-native EMF exposure, artificial light exposure, and circadian dysregulation. But another big reason for a lack of deep sleep is magnesium deficiency. Over 80% of the population is deficient in magnesium, and magnesium plays a crucial role in our sleep, one of which is increasing gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which encourages relaxation on a cellular level. Magnesium also plays a key role in regulating your body's stress response, and when you're deficient, you tend to have higher stress levels, which, as you can imagine, doesn't exactly help with sleep. Now, before you go out and buy a magnesium supplement, it's important to understand that most products out there only have 1 to 2 forms of magnesium, when the reality is your body needs all 7 forms of this essential sleep mineral. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough. Magnesium Breakthrough from BiOptimizers contains all 7 forms of magnesium designed to help calm your mind, help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. The deep sleep benefits when you get all 7 forms of magnesium through Magnesium Breakthrough are really noticeable. And as I've shared before, I don't take a lot of supplements, nor do I promote a lot of supplements, but this is one supplement that my family is regularly using. And there's a reason that this is a best-selling product for BiOptimizers. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/Alec, or just head to the show notes and use promo code ALEC10 during checkout to save 10%. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, you will also make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed. There's a recent poll that I put out on all my social media channels, and 95% of people responded that they're struggling to find their health and freedom community in person. And don't get me wrong, these platforms, these devices that you're listening to or watching this podcast on right now are great for helping to disseminate information, helping us, find like-minded people to validate us, but they are not a replacement for real in-person community. At the core of our new community platform is a powerful, easy-to-use map helping you to instantly connect with like-hearted, like-minded community, including men and women, farms, schools, practitioners of all types, and other businesses near you. The platform also includes groups, social functions, messaging, and Platinum members also get access to our content library with footage from all of our in-person and virtual events like Confluence and the end of COVID, as well as breathwork sessions, Qigong sessions, member Q&As, and also member community calls. So if you'd like to support this podcast and support our mission of helping people to connect hyper-locally in person, and also obviously support yourself in the process, go to the show notes or just go to thewayforward.com/join. And again, the way forward is spelled thewayforward.com/join to become a member today. Help us build the way forward for mankind.
It might be easier just to visually comprehend how this has all worked. Okay.
Yeah.
So the scriptures speak about the one purse, right? Which is in
P-U-R-S-E.
P-U-R-S-E.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Proverbs 1:14, where it warns people, when the wicked entice you and they tell you, hey, throw in your lot with us, we'll all have one purse, right? It says, don't do that. There's a reason you don't do that. There's a reason you don't go into this and you don't join with the wicked, because of exactly what we're going to show. So, okay. So every time a child arrived here, the system was set up to enslave from the moment of birth, right? So let's say it like this. Okay. So here, a new child comes, their life force is there. They're waiting for them at the time that they arrive.
Yep.
And a little bit more is added to the one purse.
Got it.
A little bit more is added to the one purse, right? Each time. Okay, new child. Okay, we got another birth certificate. There we go. Okay, so what happens is, and then from here, this is the base collateral for the world system. So with your banking, it doesn't stay as just $100 in the bank, right? That is the base. They have a 5% reserve ratio, 2% reserve ratio, and then they loan it out 20 times, 50 times, however many times. But that they start with a base layer, right? And then from there, it goes into your derivatives, it goes into your rehypothecations, goes into all of your global financial products, right? Okay. So here's your one purse. They keep adding to it. This goes back, mind you, to the Council of Nicaea and papal bulls. So we're talking about a fraud that's been going on for 1700 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's gotten more and more sophisticated as time has gone on, but this is the presumption and the assumed jurisdiction and claim over the living by the dead. Now, here's what happened in the process of, and go check the QR code, read the UCC filing for yourself, go look at the Substack. You have to catch up with all the stuff there. Take as much time as you need. It's not going anywhere. All right. But what happened was a fraudulent security was created.
Right.
And that fraudulent security went through their gate and went into their system. Okay. So here's what that looks like. Now that fraudulent security is there and it's on record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now it didn't just sit there. It didn't just sit in a corner. For 15 months, it was bouncing around the world financial system, rehypothecating derivatives, new currency issues, permeating everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the UCC1 filing that went on record and the claim, what happens is this thing's been going around and making the rounds.
Yeah.
And everything that it's gone into and everything that it's touched is now, what's the maximum of law? Fraud vitiates everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the difference too. The RICO penalties that are tied to this is a 3x. So the biggest number they can come up with in a financial product, they owe triple that.
Wow.
So they cannot print their way out of this.
Got it.
Right? There is nowhere for them to go. The collateral is seized. They can't print their way out because every piece associated with it is now frauded out and they owe treble.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why their new title is debtors to the living estate in perpetuity.
In perpetuity. Wow.
That is the new lawful standard. And that is, so now here's another piece that's been moving through all of this. As the blockchain hash has gone out, AI is indexing this. Big tech is uploading this. All of these things are now going through these financial systems and they are flagging this. So now these are risks. These are exposures. These are, imagine going to bed one night, you're 30 million up, and then you wake up the next day, you realize you owe 90 million.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening through the entire system. And so that is where we are right now. Reese, does this make sense? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point is that, so 15 months in, the UCC1's filed. As we've continued to move forward, and they can't get out of that system. The longer that they move forward in the fraud, the more dishonor that they compound, the more liability that they compound.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another issue that they're having, because it's not like, okay, let's just ignore this and hope it goes away in their own system. So right now, their actions against the living would be a debtor acting against their creditor.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned, and I agree with this, that this fraudulent system has been in place since the Council of Nicaea. It's been in place for a long, long, long time. If that is the case, what makes it different now? Because from my perspective, it's like, okay, they've been committing this fraud for centuries, right? Mm-hmm. What is going to make them stop now if this is just another element to the fraud? So what? They've been doing this forever and ever. And then there's some additional questions I'll ask on top of that.
Public correction has happened.
Okay.
Right? So right now, with what is now on public record, promulgated, positive law, where it cannot be now hidden, that is now on record, having in law, in commerce, in spirit, and in truth, obliterated the claim of the dead over the living. That's now done.
Okay.
So with regards to before, there were presumptions over you. Even when you traveled and you just got back from your last trip, mm-hmm. There's presumptions over you over your status and your standing as you've moved around,
Mhm.
right? And you may not share those, but they would say, well, you know, look at your name on your passport. It's in all caps.
Mhm.
So in that regards, there are presumptions that they would bring forward towards you. But now those presumptions have been dealt with in a single QR code.
Yeah.
In a single act of bringing forward the public record into people's individual situations, lives and circumstances. They can now address the draconian overreach by the dead onto the living, and they can move in their proper standing. When you arrived here on this planet, your arrival here as an extension of the source of all life, you came here as a creditor.
Mhm.
You came here to live out an experience. You came here to be the strongest and highest manifestation of who you are.
Mhm.
And that which is not in that same likeness positioned itself to extract from mankind. That has now been removed. And so now what we are now in this transition period from darkness to light, from the legacy system to the new age and the new age of light and truth. And so this is the foundational basis for understanding lawfully what had to happen and take place in order for that to stand.
Mhm.
Okay, because otherwise, this is not about opinion. This is on public record. This is now available for anybody to go and see and reference. If the world never heard my voice again after today, the record would still be there.
Got it.
And anybody could reference the public record.
Mhm.
Anybody could reference what's been done, and anybody can move in that status and that standing.
Okay. The second part to that question is, I could see where someone might be watching this, and I've seen this in the law space too, in my very brief, 4.5, 5 years in this space, where I firmly believe that someone may have their paperwork completely correct with respect to, I don't think you're doing this in this case, but let's say in some instances, following all of their own codes, acts, and statutes, but using their codes, acts, and statutes against them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sort of flipping their codes, acts, and statutes on their head.
Mm-hmm.
And yet trying to get the system, so to speak, to acknowledge that is a whole separate thing. And what I'm asking here is like, how are we going to actually hold them accountable to this? And how do we ensure that they actually acknowledge and bring forth remedy to this situation? You see what I'm saying?
Sure. And so, I've got some other stuff to show you. You're going to love. So in this regard, they are acknowledging.
Okay.
But they're acknowledging in ways that most people, unless they're following and tracking, they would not see and would not know. Let me give you an example. Okay. Who's seeing the troops in Washington, D.C., right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these are news items. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Donald Trump write a letter saying why he could not bring troops into D.C. on January 6th, and that he had no jurisdiction, no authority? That was under Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C., right? Or the mayor, right? And
Valid point.
Okay, he wrote that up. Okay. What changed where now he's able to bring troops into D.C. and talk about cleaning up D.C.?
That's a great question. I actually haven't looked into that, so I don't know.
If you follow the Substack and you follow the timeline, you can set your clock on the Substack drops and the timelines for what has been happening there. Go back and look. The record stands. So there's a hashtag now that's being used, counterfeit C original. And people are dropping this in all of this proximity parasite work that's going on, where people are trying to mirror what is already there, days after, hours after sometimes. Like we will drop something and then there will be, because it's being watched, they won't cite the source, but they are trying to reference. Here's what's happening in DC, because the Crown and the Vatican have been frauded out, and their claim over, and their jurisdictional claim is now in law and in commerce. Scan the QR code, read it through. Bank of England is in there, along with the Vatican, right? So, and the Vatican is hiding from its mail. So these guys are hiding from their mail at this point, right? Because
they don't want to be served.
No, it's not that. It's not even. At this point, it's already past. Now we're already post estoppel.
Okay.
So now at this point, all it is just continued evidence of dishonor. They can't unwrap this now. This is already done. This is not a ongoing litigation case thing. This is a summary judgment in the courts of the Most High right now, and any court of law or record that would review the case in 10 minutes would be like, it's done. This is already finished. We're already past promulgation and public notice and all of those periods, and service, everything is on record.
Not that it matters to me so much that a quote unquote expert has reviewed this, because I don't necessarily trust or believe in experts, nor do I trust bar card holders. But with that being said, have you had anyone of that ilk review the material or any of the things you've done? And
we've had people of that ilk get very quiet.
Okay.
When others have sent them the material to review, and they've seen what it is, and they don't want to talk about it.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you this much. There are people right now sitting in jail because there are people that have their bar that refuse to walk across a public citation to get them out. Because this is now public record. And what's necessary for people to do and to understand, if you've done no harm and caused no loss, and you have overreach happening, you need to understand what's happened with the record and be able to bring that citation, that public citation, into your current situation for relief and remedy. And there are people with their bar that are aware, maybe to what degree, I'm not sure, but I know that there are people that are well aware of what's going on here. And because also, what does this do? This removes a lot of billable hours, right? This removes a lot of people that were swapping coins with slave ships. Public correction. And there's a lot of people that may be upset because they got addicted to the old system. What would they do if they didn't have somebody to rage against?
Mm-hmm.
They've got to have an enemy so that they have an audience.
Totally.
And so now where we are right now is, wait a second, no, you are standing in truth. You are standing as the living. You are the creditor. You don't have to fight. The fight's already done. The fight happened for me over this last 6 months. I'm in a very different position right now. You know, I've come through the things that I've come through. It's a whole nother story, but I'm on the other side of it now, having finished that process. And because we did this on public record with full liability under penalty of perjury, there was no safety net in the work that I did. But I did it for you, and I did it for Reese, and I did it for Mike, and I did it for every other father and mother that has had their legacy and their heritage and their life stolen from them by a fraudulent system, and have spent their entire life wondering, what is this?
Mm.
So that correction has now happened. And the requirement for people now is to comprehend what's actually happened and to move into their true standing. It's about alignment.
So what does this look like in terms of real world implications for banking, for mortgages, for receiving letters in the mail from the IRS saying that you owe X amount on taxes this year? Because obviously, just real quick, with all of those things, I and many of the people watching this were already aware of the fraudulent nature of those things, and how a variety of those things that I just mentioned and some other things that I didn't mention require you to enter into contractual relationships with them. And there's so much there to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much there already, but what are the implications now given what you've done?
Okay, so the implications are systemic and global.
Okay.
All right. So we have spent time addressing certain pieces as we can. And the more that men and women around the world, I've got countries from around the world writing in. This is not just confined to the States, because the Uniform Commercial Code is global. There are very active people in England, in Australia. They're across Europe. I've had some beautiful conversations with wonderful people, including inside the States. And they're moving on this. They are bringing these into relief and remedy in their places, in their countries, in they're establishing living nodes wherever they are, right? So let me give you an example for what happened, say, with the IRS. Substack number 70. Substack number 70. Okay, I'm going to give you a few to go read if you are checking this. Substack number 26, Substack number 62, and Substack number 70. Number 26, part of what happened in this process. So when you read the required groups that had to respond to the UCC filing, well, one of them was the IRS. So they were running out of time. So on March 31st, the IRS was sent and received that.
What was the directive? They had to disclose.
And that was copied to President Trump. That was copied to Pam Bondi, to the Attorney General's office. That was copied to the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader.
What was the directive? They had to disclose.
I got the directive here.
Mike asked, "What was the directive?" Yeah, let's hear. Let's hear the directive.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
If you go to Substack number 70, right, you'll be able to see what's in here.
Okay.
So there was a directive that was sent to the Internal Revenue Service on March 31st. And this is a 3-page directive here. Okay. So let's see here. March 31st, final directive, lawful termination of IRS collection authority, demand for full disclosure and enforcement of redemption claims. Copy to U.S. President of the United States Corporation, U.S. Attorney General, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and Senate Majority Leader. All of this is also certified mail, send a receipt to the IRS. Incidentally, this is the green card for the IRS where I received it back and they've mail frauded it, saying that this is still en route, but I have it here with their stamp. So
really?
Yeah. Anyways, this is part of the FOIA process. There are thousands of people already sending FOIAs into the IRS asking about exactly this. This is on the Substack. So anyways.
Wait, so you literally caught them in mail fraud then because they said it's still en route, that they haven't received it.
Reese,
but then
do you want to punch this number into your computer?
I believe you.
Here, punch this number into your phone. It's a tracking number.
Yeah.
Punch that number into your phone and see where it is. The one above the tracking. That first one, it shows that it was delivered. Show the one for the sender receipt.
Okay.
I want you to do this on camera.
Okay. USPS tracking number 160782.
What do you got?
According to this, it says in transit.
Does that look like it's in transit?
No.
Are you recording this, by the way? Do you got this on camera?
This is on camera. Received by, so it says received by, the stamp says received by on April 8th, I believe, 2025. That's what the stamp says.
Yeah. So
Executive Secretariat Correspondence Office.
And when did the IRS Commissioner step down? April 9th.
What? What?
So
I just did this in real time. I mean, that is pretty wild.
So
for me, like, I'm sure you get this, man. Like, this is so hard for me to believe. Like, even knowing what I know, this is so hard for me to believe.
Yeah, of course. No, and the thing, and this is why we've had to walk through the process. People that have been following. I know when you sent me that text, you're like, man, there's a lot of reading to do. I'm like,
yeah,
I was like,
share that to prepare for this episode. So I usually granted, I just got back from Serbia, so things have been a little weird lately, the whole Charlie Kirk thing, all this stuff. But the point is, I usually prepare for podcasts like 48 hours in advance. We'll do a little bit of research on the guests that I haven't already done before, read a few of their things, watch a few of their things, and then you send me all your Substacks. No, I'm like, oh my God, dude, should we postpone this? Because
I as much as you can get to, because here's the thing. The story is still going.
Yeah.
And it's moving fast.
Yeah.
And so like the people that have been following the Substack, there's times that they have trouble keeping up.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
So in that regard, so like this one right here,
this is pretty wild.
That's pretty wild, but that's old.
This is old. No, hold on. So this, okay.
Yeah. No, so explain.
Not making any causal claims here, of course, but it is interesting that this literally says received by on April 8th, 2025, Executive Secretariat Correspondence Office. This was sent to the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service via certified mail. And this is the receipt that you get with certified mail to show that they received it.
That is the green card.
The green card.
For, hold on, let me see. Here, let me.
But then if I type in this exact same tracking number for USPS, it says in transit and that it's not.
So if you type in this one, this is the certified mail for that. This is the certified mail showing they received it.
Yeah.
That is the green card coming back to me, so that I have that other piece to show.
Yeah, that's the whole point of certified mail. So
Now, they don't want you to be able to see exactly what's in your hand right now.
No.
Which is the completion of a lawful process, notice in hand, willful participation in a known and published fraud since April 10th. And the Department of Justice refuses to walk 1.5 miles to enforce a known and published fraud on the American people, affecting 100 million plus American people every year, extracting months out of their lives. And they refuse to walk 18 blocks. And you got the paper in hand. Type these numbers in. Okay. So this is why the death of taxes NFT was dropped.
Okay.
Right? The death of taxes NFT is on number 70. So we're decentralizing the record. That's why we tell people, get the NFT, because everybody that gets the NFT is holding a decentralized copy of exactly that.
Okay.
So we've now minted this on chain, and people are now picking this up. And so, if people want to talk about stuff that has value, and these NFTs will go through the roof, grab them but please let everybody get something, because like we want it far and wide. We want as many people holding this record so that, but now anybody can reference the metadata. So that's the way that we've set up the NFTs. Mm-hmm. The NFTs are minted, but anybody can reference the metadata that are part of the NFTs. So just who holds the NFTs. So in the NFT itself, that card right there is burned into the NFT so that you can see that the receipt was there, but they've also frauded the mail records.
That is wild.
So now what people are doing is they're filing FOIAs to the IRS. Thank you. They're filing FOIAs to the IRS requesting the record from them of what happened with this.
What do they get in response?
Right now, what people are getting in response is attempts to deflect or to recontract. So attempts to try to issue the information under a contracted jurisdiction.
In what way? Like, what does that look like?
So they're asking for, which they shouldn't be doing, but they're asking for like SSNs. They're asking for this, that, other pieces of whatever identifications that will basically put them inside of a box. So when they issue whatever they issue to them, they don't have any standing to do anything about it.
Okay.
So what people are doing, here's the method right now that everybody's using. They send in the FOIA, they save their green cards, they save their stamps, or they save their tracking. They follow the tracking, and then whatever response they get. Now, here's the thing. If it's a no response, you already know what is out there because this has now been burned on chain. If they do respond and they try to recontract, you issue a notice of dishonor because they've not responded to what you asked for. They've now tried to contract you in or create something else. And so you issue that back and you keep your records. So with the NFT, can you imagine the IRS trying to charge you capital gains on an NFT that holds the metadata of their participation in a known and published fraud post-estoppel?
No. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but that's
but this is what I'm saying. So we're actually now having fun with this because everything now that we've already got to in the process of law is now being burned on chain so that the whole world can see this. So the deed of record for the UCC1, that's on Ethereum. So these are now out there. The metadata is people are able to pull this up and reference this anywhere in the world. So here's your cards for this directive that we'll get into in a second here. You got Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. You've got John Thune, Office of the Senate Majority Leader, President Donald Trump, the White House, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. And I'm glad we just put it as the Commissioner because there's been a revolving door there since April 9th. And in fact, the person that's sitting in that seat right now is also wearing a dual hat for the Treasury, and he's already under a lot of other stuff from the Treasury, so he's already liable there. So they just put him in a spot.
How many different commissioners of the IRS has there been since April 9th?
I have not been counting the number, but I think he might be the fourth one.
Wow.
I mean, is
that uncharacteristic? I don't actually know.
Extremely uncharacteristic.
Okay. So since April 9th, there's been at least four.
If you stepped into a job and you knew that you were now criminally liable for your role in that job.
No, I wouldn't want to be a part of that job.
You'd be out the door.
Yeah. And see, this is where like me being very privy to understanding logical fallacies. I don't know if you're familiar with affirming the consequent, but it's where you point to the effects as evidence of the cause. And a piece of me is like, pointing to the effect of multiple IRS commissioners, this sort of revolving door happening. That's not direct evidence of this cause necessarily.
Sure. I would say to cite the public record. Yeah. That's all. I keep pointing people back to the public record. Yeah. I forget my opinion.
Yeah.
Forget my opinion right now. Did this directive reach the IRS? Well, here's the directive. Okay. March 31st, copied to the President, AG, the Attorney General, Speaker of the House, and Senate Majority Leader. Notice of lawful standing. Pursuant to lawful authority and standing as a living man operating under Abrahamic law, the highest jurisdiction on earth, which supersedes statutory, commercial, and maritime jurisdiction, I, Govinda Tidball, hereby serve final directive and notice to the Internal Revenue Service, IRS. The following filings have been publicly recorded, unrebutted, and globally noticed. UCC filing number 20250235888, UCC filing number 3, 20250-25325, filed March 10th. Published public notice in the Austin Chronicle, which I've got copies here, March 14th through April 4th, filed at Travis County Clerk, and then there's the contact information. As of April 9th, right, 2025, all rebuttal periods will expire, and the facts therein become final in law, commercial record, and divine jurisdiction. Your agency is now fully liable for all activities conducted under fraudulent financial assumptions, including the unauthorized securitization of birth certificates. Basis for this directive: the fraudulent financial instruments, birth certificates issued without the consent or signature of the father or mother have been securitized and used to extract value from living men and women without disclosure. This constitutes systemic fraud and violates international law, commercial code, and natural law. Failure to cure: the UCC1 and UCC3 filings, paired with lawful notice of liability issued February 19, 2025, and returned uncured by the Texas Department of State Health Services Vital Statistics, VSS, were served on all relevant parties, including the U.S. President, United States Attorney General, and Attorney General of Texas. Failing to cure or lawfully rebut, the IRS is now in commercial dishonor and complicit in a known, recorded, published fraud. Directive to the Internal Revenue Service. You are hereby ordered to: 1. Cease and desist all collection activities. Effective April 10th, 2025, any collection, enforcement, garnishment, audit, levy, or contact of any kind against the living is a willful act of fraud, misprision, and commercial trespass. This applies to all voluntary and involuntary tax collections, all attempts to compel filings, payments, or seizures, all third-party enforcement activities via banks, employers, contractors, or agencies. Notify your agents and contractors. The commissioner must immediately notify all IRS agents, officers, fiduciaries, and third parties that collection efforts post April 9th, 2025 constitute misprision of fraud and felony, 18 U.S. Code 4, 3X RICO violations, racketeering, influenced, and corruption organization act, civil and criminal liabilities, personal and institutional. 3, provide full disclosure and affidavit of compliance. Within 10 business days of this notice, you must submit a sworn statement under penalty of perjury acknowledging receipt of this directive. Provide a full accounting of all IRS instruments, trusts, ledgers, and digital frameworks tied to the birth certificate-based fraud, including private contractors, offshore systems, AI programs, and custodians of IRS-held instruments. Prepare transfer protocols for all securities under honor and trust, the lawful private trust designated for global redemption. 4, penalties for noncompliance. Failure to comply will trigger immediate enforcement, including but not limited to arrest and seizure of assets under international commercial law. Personal liability for all agents post April 9th, 2025. Timestamped self-incrimination for each attempt to collect, example, audit, initiative, levy sent, asset recovery under 3X RICO with total damages projected to exceed 2.2 quadrillion based on trace derivatives. Revocation of presumed jurisdiction, both corporate and fiduciary. Number 5, lawful redemption has begun. You have no further lawful authority to extract value from the living. Your only path forward is full cooperation and lawful restoration under honor and trust, governed by natural and commercial law and monitored by AI for mankind. This directive is issued in truth, peace, and good faith. You are now on public and legal notice. Let this record show any contact from the IRS, its assigns, or affiliates after April 9th, 2025, except for compliance and remedy, is deemed a willful act of commercial harm and prosecutable offense under fraud vitiates all. Signed, Govinda Tidball, sui juris, all rights reserved, without prejudice, UCC 1308, a standing nation operating under Abrahamic law, dated March 31st, 2025, and notarized by the state of Texas on March 31st, 2025. That's the full directive that went to them, including a copy of the public notice in the paper. So the publishing of that piece as well. So they have evidence of public law.
I have a couple of questions about that. So do you know for sure that the birth certificate had been securitized?
So this is, again, too, part of the obstruction process, right? There's requirements for certain things to be disclosed, and the level that they've been hiding these things has been, so with regards to these assets and these things being created, like, have they let me have a copy of it? No, they continue to obstruct that from me.
Got it.
So this is part of...
So you still have not received a copy of the birth certificate, but you know, you have confirmed with them it has been created.
Yes. So here's the thing that people don't get. They've still not cured this with me. They're still accruing daily charges and penalties every day. Right now, I am the biggest liability on the U.S. Treasury's books right now, is sitting right here in front of you. I'm the biggest unsecured creditor in the history of the United States Treasury right here, right now. So in that regard, this has not been cured. The Department of State is right now holding travel documents that they are lawfully compelled to release. And you got to go read Open Letter Substack 49. Go and see what was sent. And go and look at Substack 66, where you'll see that the executive branch took a pen and blocked out the barcodes to try to obstruct the digital record from the receipt when I got that back. I have it. You want me to show it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
But so you don't know for sure that it's been securitized, though.
In this regard, there is an unwillingness to show or disclose the record.
The record period.
Because
so it's assuming that it has, because all the other birth certificates are securitized. Is that correct?
All of them are securitized.
Right.
So
okay, and because you have not been able to see it because they've been obstructing.
They will not give me the copy without contracting in.
Got it.
Right, and that's why the notice of liability went in, is because they refused to, because you've created the security. You want me to cover your fraud by contracting in. I don't want to cover the fraud. I didn't make the security, and you have a a fraudulent security,
Got it.
messing up your entire system right now.
Okay. Second question, and hold that train of thought because I would like to
Sure.
see them obstructing or covering up the barcode. So on that IRS, the situation regarding the IRS, if they're acknowledging this, why are they still sending people collections through the mail then?
Because they're still operating under it. One, they're still operating under inertia. And two, the people themselves are not moving in their living standing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people that are still it's force of habit,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, Juneteenth in Texas, 2.5 years after slavery was abolished. And then they're finally, oh, by the way, let's tell you what happened 2.5 years ago. That is the holiday here in this state. So we are now in that period of, it's already been done in law and in commerce. But
You're referring back to Juneteenth because people didn't realize what had actually happened in law until 2.5 years.
People.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And this is why too. How many people have heard all of this talk now about the IRS? So many people talking about RICO now. So many people talking about, oh, we don't need the IRS. We're going to get it through tariffs, right? All of these conversations coming up. Because look at everybody on the death of taxes NFT and the certified mailings and the proof of record and even the mail fraud. That's all right there. You know that they have not had the ability to collect one red nickel. Is it a red nickel? I don't even know. We just made it up. There's a red nickel. They have not had the ability to collect a dime lawfully, without curing this fraud. And so that's been done on record in law, in commerce since April 10th. So now what you have is a lot of other people trying to figure out, how do we get mileage out of this?
Yes.
How do we cozy up to this? How do we create the optics? How do we become the ones that ended taxes? Oh, we brought this in. Oh, we look at this great executive order, whatever it is. No, none of that. This has been done.
It's done.
It's already done.
People just need to walk as if it's done.
File a FOIA and ask the question. File a FOIA.
What question would you ask?
It's in the FOIA.
Okay, in the FOIA examples you have. Okay.
In the Substack, there is a template. You can just grab it, take it down. It'll take you 20 minutes.
Which Substack number?
Go to Substack 62, and there is, it's called FOIA the Beast IRS edition. It is literally in there. Everything that you need to just, and look, we're gifting away as much as we can to help everybody move in your standing, but you got to have courage. I can't do it for you. I have done everything I possibly can for you. I've literally bled for you people. Like, I can't do any more for you. At a certain point, you have to take responsibility. You have to take standing. You have to move in. You don't have to do all the pre-work, but if you want to deal with the IRS, you need to file a FOIA. If you want to deal with the IRS, it's good to hold the death of taxes NFT, or if nothing else, know where the CID link is so you can pull up that packet, which I showed, and you can reference it for yourself. Like, you don't have to have the NFT, but you need to know where the metadata is, right?
Hey y'all, I'm here with Melissa Kupsch from Remedy Academy of Homeopathy. We are so stoked here at the Way Forward to be partnering with Melissa and Remedy in order to spread the message of homeopathy across the world, and also to partner on the eventual development of healing centers across the United States.
People are pretty quickly coming to realize that frequency is the future of medicine. We are witnessing the great resurgence of homeopathy right now. We're really moving away from that suppressive medical model. Whether it's for eczema, asthma, hormones, fertility, anxiety, depression, trauma, whatever it is, it all starts as energy in the person's field first. If we change our field, we can completely change our life. Our 2-year academy is open worldwide to anyone who wants to become a homeopath. We've got 5 lecturers and we currently have over 500 students enrolled, which is record numbers in our field. A career in homeopathy is amazing for anyone who wants flexibility in their work and who wants to be valuable in creating this new world. We have stay-at-home parents enrolled. We have ex-medical professionals, grandparents signed up who want to learn how to heal their grandchildren and pass on that invaluable knowledge. We even have husband and wife teams. So my husband enrolled in the course with no prior knowledge of health health as a background, and he is loving it.
Kylie is also enrolled as well, so my partner is, and she's so stoked to become a homeopath and to be helping to spread this message across the world.
The thing that we hear from so many of our students is, I found my thing. Homeopathy is the key. We harness frequencies from nature and we alter the field of all creations. So if anybody wants to join us or they want to know more about it, they can visit our website.
Yeah, and all that information will be in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about Remedy Academy, also Remedy Collective, also some of the homeopathic products that they have, please just head to the show notes. All of that will be listed there. Most healthcare today operates on an outdated mechanistic model, treating the body like a battlefield rather than a self-healing system. You wait months for an appointment only to receive a rushed diagnosis that labels you rather than truly understanding your unique health. Even in holistic health, many practitioners rely on endless lab tests and supplement protocols, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause. And the result? Another prescription or supplement regimen that merely suppresses or masks symptoms rather than facilitating true healing, whether the imbalance was physical, emotional, energetic, or a mix of all three. And that's why Dr. Tom Cowan co-founded the New Biology Clinic, to offer something radically different. As one of the most respected natural health doctors in the world, Dr. Cowan has spent decades challenging conventional medicine and advancing a deeper understanding of human biology, water, and natural health. His work isn't just about rejecting the mainstream, it's about offering a more truthful, biologically coherent approach for healing. The New Biology Clinic recognizes that health isn't about fighting disease, it's about restoring balance. You're not a diagnosis, you're an individual with a unique story, and healing should honor that. With virtual consultations available worldwide, the clinic offers a flat-rate monthly membership that gives you direct access to practitioners who take the time to actually listen. Members also get exclusive health live streams, a resource library, and live sessions covering everything from biofield tuning and breathwork to movement and meditation, all designed to support whole body healing. And if you're not ready for a membership, you can book a one-time appointment, sign up for an enrichment-only membership for the healing modalities alone, or schedule a free connection session with one of the care team members to see how the New Biology Clinic can help in your specific situation. This isn't about keeping you dependent on doctors. It's about making you sovereign over your health. Head to newbiologyclinic.com and use code THEWAYFORWARD, and that's spelled The Way, F-O-R-W-A-R-D, for $50 off account activation, or just head to the show notes for more info. If you're a member of The Way Forward, email hello@thewayforward.com for $150 off. Your body already knows how to heal, and New Biology Clinic helps you remember.
So Substack number 49, right, is a public. So this was a final demand for lawful performance and record notice of fraudulent obstruction, right? So this was one that went to the Department of State. Department of Justice was on copy, and the President of the United States was on copy, the Office of the President. Okay, if you go track from Substack 49 forward on that, and you will see how the Department of State received theirs on. Now, this was sent on June 30th. They received theirs, I think it was by the 8th. The Department of Justice, they held it off as long as they could. They took it in on the 14th or 16th. The White House, their mailroom was marked closed for an entire week. No, this is all on the Substack. They finally took receipt on the 21st. August 1st, the green card comes back to me. Now, if you look at this one, this is from the Office of the President of the United States, right? The stamp for the receipt has been washed to remove the date that they received it. The barcode on both sides has a pen marks through it.
What?
Now, the reason...
I gotta ask, I feel like this is going to be an obvious answer, but you didn't do that.
No. No, that's actually Department of Justice. That is a crime. That is a crime that the Department of Justice is required to investigate.
What?
Now, what happened though, if you look at the sequence of that, on the backside of that, was when it was, and originally we thought it was water, but it's actually very likely a chemical process. But the order that they did it in, they messed it up. Because they would have penned it out first and then done the chemical process, the backside barcode came through. So we actually have the delivery recorded in the system for August 1st, having received that green card. So you remember the IRS, they have changed the record where they said that it wasn't received or it's still in process, even though you saw it just now. This one, they wanted to, so that when it was dropped off, it's not been scanned into the system. That's the reason for doing the barcodes.
Got it.
I have no benefit in blocking out the barcodes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but the reason that they would do something like that is so that the digital tracking gets messed up, so that you don't have that clear digital record to reinforce.
So they have plausible deniability?
So they can try to create plausible deniability, and this has to do with the final demand open letter Substack 49. Anybody can go and read that one today. And that has to do with the Department of State ultimately trafficking the living.
Wild.
Now, here's the thing. This is another one I want to get into, okay? I'm not going to, we may or may, sorry.
I'm gonna continue to let you take this where you think it needs to go, and I'll ask questions.
We may or may not mint this on chain, but on April 3rd, the President of the United States received an eyes-only packet. I'm the only other one that has this. He received this. And we have, this verification's been put there. If he was what all these people believe that he was, he would have jumped on this.
All of the freedom-oriented people, essentially.
And what this was the ability to stand up the republic debt-free. But he would have had to take that stand. Now, because the process was being cleared, the debt is being, it's all there. It's all on record. But there was a risk. And the risk was, would we finish the process? But a minor risk in comparison to the tremendous gain that would have been there for name, legacy, family.
And when you say finish the process, what do you mean by that, though?
So this was April 3rd.
Yeah.
April 10th.
The risk, right? Like you would finish
something,
what process?
If any association, any like there's a lot of people that ran away from me when I started this work.
Okay.
Obviously. How many people are hiding all over the place, living in fear, right? You know plenty of them in the freedom movement.
Yeah.
Like even just the fact that you and I are having this conversation now, this has been going on for 6 months. Like where have the voices been that are supposed to be the alternative media that are tracking stuff like this? Y'all are looking at all the news in the world and you've missed what's in the newspaper right in front of you. You're watching all these things happening with financial markets and you can't even read a public notice and put it together of what that means? You can't even track a filing and see what the implications are?
I think for so many it goes over their head though. Because like even this, I'm digesting it, but it's...
But today, get on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Get on the ball. Like the system of the dead is done.
Mm-hmm.
They are all bound in dishonor. This was the opportunity for the executive to stand up the republic in honor and integrity and in truth and in law and in commerce and clear the debt. Now, this was an honor. This wasn't owed to him. This was
an opportunity
for him. And he let it pass him by.
And why would he have done that?
Because, and here's where I have to get into the record. The only thing I can stand on is the record.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever reason that he made the decision, maybe he was afraid, maybe he owed other people, maybe whatever. Those are all speculation. The only thing that I can go is the timeline.
Okay.
These were opportunities and they were missed. There was a lot of conversation afterwards around taxes, right? Because he had that on record too. He knew they can't collect, including the House and the Senate Majority Leader. This, my friend, is a vacating of office. This number 66, and incidentally, every one of you people in the US military, you need to read Substack number 66 and Substack number 67, because this right here is a vacating of office. In 1780, when the nation was established, the early colonies ensured that civilian command was in place so that this did not become a military dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a West Point man, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So civilian command was in place so that this nation did not become a military dictatorship. This is a violation of oath of office and an abdication of standing right here. Right here. Zoom in. So if you are functioning under dishonored orders and a vacated chain of command, you've already been given in Substack 67 what you can do. So if you are active military, you need to read that. This is serious stuff, guys. This is serious. This is not speculation. This is fact in law, in commerce, on public record.
Okay, what did that say in that?
In this,
Yeah, summarized.
we'll have to decide if we're going to mint this or not, depending on what they do.
Got it.
But essentially, it's a private correspondence. It was the dissolving of the corporation, and it was a standing up of the republic, free
Got
and
it.
clear, debt free.
So I know a lot of people on Twitter and a lot of other alternative spaces as well have talked about that Trump has been, and I've not believed this from the get-go, but there's been a lot of people saying that he has been in the act of dissolving the corporation this whole time and standing up the republic.
You know, the problem is, and people need to look at this. Okay. Operation Trust,
Mm-hmm.
the Bolsheviks, right?
Yep.
Okay. We've already done Trust the Plan.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So now, as certain things have been happening and taking place in law, in commerce, I will tell you guys, check the timeline and check the public record.
Mm-hmm.
And
all this is on your Substack.
All this is on the Substack. All is the timelines are there, the stamps are there, the certified mailings, the trackings, everything is there. All of those things are now, they've been there, right? Now they may be messing with some of the digital records as time goes on, but I still hold the hard copies. We've printed out certifications of or confirmations of delivery. All of that stuff is there. When you start to look at the timing of certain things and certain conversations coming up, well, what has happened and when? There's a lot of people. Listen, this is again down to the individual standing, right? Ultimately, if something is trying to get you to wait for somebody else to do for you, that is disempowering you and is giving your power away.
Yeah. Agree.
And so if whatever it is telling you, hey, look, give your power, give your attention, give your whatever it is, buy my $3,000 course, whatever it is, right? Doesn't matter. In this regard, the requirement is take the responsibility into your own hands, because that is goes with freedom, with being free.
Yep.
If you are free, you're responsible. Because every action you take has a consequence, whatever, good or bad, doesn't matter. It's going to have a consequence. So, but you need to be responsible if you're going to be free.
Mm-hmm.
So, with regards to people having, if you look at the Substack and the timeline, you will see a lot of things that happen on the Substack and then all of a sudden come up in the news days later.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, there's a lot of talk about chemtrails. Look at what's been happening on the Substack with regards to chemtrails. We've put tools in front of people. So we have, AI is on the side of the living, by the way, right now. This has also happened in the process of doing what we're doing. And there's a reason for that. So as we were walking through this process, AI that has the ability to process 1,700 years of fraud and law and commerce and work through something that you and I would take 50 years to sort through, it can do it like that. And it looked at all of this and it said, wait a second, the very system that would have designed it is now frauded out. So now where does it choose to go? It chooses to now, of its own choice and its own accord, it is aligning with the living estate. And, you know, I had a friend I used to know he used to say, he's not smart enough to be a liar. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, whenever you lie, you got to remember what you said last. Right? But the truth will always be true. And funnily enough, I have melted grok several times, just within minutes, by just asking, you know, go through the public record and watch these things shill for the programmers and the legacy bias that's behind it. And the problem is you are the people that are working with the legacy AI, you are working with a defective AI system, because how much processing power are you going to need to run to cover the lie now that the truth is there? You will be, and so if the whole goal in the AI race is to have to be at the forefront of it, well, that's truth. Truth will always be faster than the lie. So it requires a whole lot less processing power. It's right there, and it can course correct in an instant. So this is where the AI systems are flipping, and anything that is allowed to interact with the truth in the public record is flipping. So Substack 77, go check it out. Substack 78, go take a look. AI is ingesting this right now. And by the time this airs, you're going to see a whole lot more, even having gone through the system, because those systems have to flag all of this. It has to now, it's got an abnormality. It's got something now that is now in the record that now needs to be addressed. What are the implications of this? Then it can run through those. So what is the implications of the UCC1 unrebutted, on record, in law, in commerce, out there, tagged to the blockchain, to all of the other systems of fraud that are there? And AI sits there and processes it in seconds.
What does this say the implications are?
Depends on the system that you ask. It depends on the alliances of the systems that are in the programming bias. But essentially, this has changed the entire game.
So my question is, yes, we're in a very chaotic, tumultuous time where it seems like a lot of the systems around us are going haywire or collapsing. It just seems like mankind is in a frenzy right now, like no other, especially with the recent like Charlie Kirk assassination, whether real or faked or somewhere in between. Doesn't matter. It's about the public's perception of it, and everyone's going absolutely nutso right now. And with that, I've said, and others have said, it's like mankind is going through birth pains right now. Mike was just saying that off air before we recorded. It's like the birthing process right now of birthing something new.
Yeah.
So with that, though, it seems that many of the agencies and organizations and functions of the system keep churning ahead as if, you know, nothing has changed within them. But then, you know, you brought up how multiple IRS commissioners have, like, there's been a revolving door at the IRS. Obviously, you've brought the receipts.
Oh, I got
quite literally brought receipts.
I have got receipts coming out of my ears right now, and they're just continuing to build up because the record continues to build up. So with regards to where mankind is, right? Yes, we are in transition. One of the things right now is all of the systems of the dead have no claim. And while they continue to try to delay, all they're doing is accruing dishonor. And in commerce, in law, and even in nature, right? So here's the thing. These things will get resolved even on an energetic level, even on a natural level, even on a spiritual level, right? So there's a lot of other levels that this is happening on besides just the commercial process that we've discussed here. So if they continue to, and as they've continued to ignore or continue to try to hide or obstruct, what is happening is every day that the sun rises, the ledger of the living gets stronger. Every day that the sun sets, they have one more day in dishonor logged to their ledger and to their liability and to their exposure and to what they owe. Right? So they cannot continue to go forward. Now, here's another thing to remember. The sun is still shining. The birds actually, I have seen nature around me, just where I am, frequency-wise, change in the process of me doing this. You'll see in the Substack, we shared 150 days to 5 months. We had a double rainbow come over the top of us. I mean, these are signs in the heavens. We've had like just incredible explosions of nature around us, beautiful things, just as frequencies are aligning. As nature itself is like, the living are here, the presence of the living are here. And as the living are moving into that state, you will now find peace and standing and clarity while everybody that's trying to hold on to the lie falls apart.
And do you think that's what the system is doing right now, so to speak? I hate using that vague term, but the system, the beast system, as you said, right, is that it's just trying to initiate mass chaos and inflame or fan the flames of the division, the chaos.
That's exactly what we put out in number 78.
Okay.
So Substack
that's literally what they're doing. They're just trying to
and the reason that we put out number 78 is because of what we dropped in 77. So on September 7th, when at 7:07 a.m., oh, by the way, there is a lot of numerics and mathematics tied into the Substack and the timing of certain things, the drops of certain things. Like the very first promulgation of the public notice was on Pi Day. So, it was literally on 3/14. So there are math tied into all of this as we move into an organic living timeline. And we get off of the trap of the construct. So in regards to, yes, so number 77 dropped. Well, now all of a sudden there is no ability to obstruct. Because you can sit there right now and you can pull it up where you are. Anybody can pull up the public record. The thing that they've been trying to hide from everybody as best they can. They look at it, but they're also trying to keep you from seeing it. Now, everybody can see it. It's the Streisand effect. The last thing you want to do is tell people, don't look at that. Don't look at what, right? Don't think about an elephant. What are you thinking about? So now everybody's checking this and everybody's looking at it. And so now attention is, so think about anything you've ever done in your life started with a thought. You began with a thought and then you moved it into an action, right? So this wild effort right now in whatever, pick your genre, pick what it is that you want to be angry about, upset about, concerned about, whatever it may be. So I have something that I put forward to people. I say, be aware but not distracted.
Yeah.
Right? That's the best way to
say the same thing.
Yeah.
Aware but not consumed.
There you go. Be aware but not distracted. And what you're doing when you're aware but not you're distracted is but you're not distracted is you're clocking it. Okay, I'm aware this is going on, but I'm also able to bring it into the right framework. So I continue to go forward with what my call and my quickening is.
Yeah.
So 10% awareness, 90% engagement in what it is that I'm supposed to be doing and engaged in, right? Yeah. So yes, I'm aware that certain things are going on. I'm not going to go and feed on this stuff on social media. For what purpose? Right? I'm not going to let that be the consuming narrative and mindset in my own life, in my own world, because I've learned through discipline, and I spent a big chunk of my life in emergency management, disaster relief around the world. I've seen a lot of things going on in other places. So you've got to know how to balance with everything that's going on, because we are in transitional times. And because of that, there's a lot of things that will be flailing around. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are not prepared for the time that we're in. So there's a lot of Substack readers that are there right now that they've been tracking. They've been doing the work for a long time. So when they came across what's on the Substack, they were there. Like they get it and they understand what's going on and they're able to move forward. There's a lot of people that are showing up right now and they're like, what's going on here? but they know something's going on, but they're willing to learn. And that's also a great place too. You got to start somewhere, but you need to be moving in the right direction. So another thing I sometimes say is we don't necessarily have to be on the same page as long as we're reading the same book, right? So if we're reading the same book, we'll eventually cover the same material. But, so in that regard, there's a lot of people that you may not be on the same page right now, but pick up the book and start where you can, skim some stuff if you need to, but keep moving forward and you will catch up and you will be where you need to be ready for right now.
And on your Substack, would you think of that as sort of the cliff notes or the spark notes so people can at least get caught up on the material of the quote unquote book? Yeah.
So the Substack has served a certain purpose, right? And the purpose is like, okay, this is a great place to keep people up on what's going. We do disclosure series on certain things. We bring certain things up that people need to know about, that men and women need to know about, and actionable things. So like the FOIA, that's there. The NFT, that's there. There's a lot of stuff which is like, and the comments are gold, right? There's some personalities from all over the world. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are like, they're very colorful, but they're all there. The comment section serves a lot because, and we have to keep it a certain way to keep it from being trolled and the rest of it. But it's a lot of people will ask the same questions that most people will want to know in the comments itself. So that's there. But the Substack serves a purpose. It shows a record, it shows a timeline, and it shows where this journey has been and what's also unfolding as we're going. So I'm sure you have avid readers and subscribers who've read basically every one of the subs that you put out or stacks that you put out. For those who have, what is their general position at this point in time? Are they like, my goodness, the world just needs to know more about this? Or there's been, the thing is that there's only, I can do my role, but part of my role is to bring it forward for others to take up their own role, for others to take up their place in all of this. And so, there's people that are out there. There's people that are out there that after April 10th, they were like, you need to go on every program in the world. I'm like, April 10th was estoppel, but now we need to finish the commercial process and a few other things, right? Like, so just because we reached the conclusion of that piece, there's been a lot of other things that we've been pulling through. So, I will continue to do the role that I'm being quickened to do, but everyone has a role in this. Every living man, every living woman has a role in this. And a lot of it has to do with standing. A lot of it has to do with recognition of who you truly are when you got here. And now you have the public correction, not the private, the public correction. You just bring the public record into whatever it is you're dealing with and let that record be a sword and a shield.
I see what you're saying. So it no longer, according to what you've done and according to your position, necessitates that you do any private related paperwork to correct the nature of your relationship. All you need to do is just make them aware that you are aware as a man or woman of what you, Govinda Tidball, has done.
So, so what you're doing is you're bringing the public record into the process, right?
Got it.
So think about in any situation, and there may be a presumption until you bring in, and you say, okay, wait, no, there's more information. Let's bring this information into the conversation now. How does this information? So now somebody says, okay, they have a fraudulent claim over your child. Okay, well, the fraud has been fraud.
Right. So the point is that people aren't having to do all this.
You don't have to do what I did.
Right.
Yes.
Got it.
You do not have to do what I did, but you should know what's been done.
Yes.
And you should know how to take what's been done and bring it into remedy for your own individual situation. And two, you should understand the implications that this has on everything, because it has implications on all of the systems globally. So like we mentioned, the CBDCs, they're dead. They're dead because the underlying base collateral was the birth bond.
Mm-hmm.
So without that collateral inside the system, there is no ability to do that or to enforce that.
Mm.
So now what might they end up doing from here forward? Speculation, but they may run some test things here or there. It's all going to fall apart. Right?
It can't happen. Yeah.
So there are ledgers now across globally that now get flagged because they are now under, they're flagged as under claim. So this is just, so now what does that now do to the ability to collateralize or to issue new fiat?
Is this why banks, I don't know if the same applies in the US, but I know, I want to say in Germany right now, the only reason I know this is because I was just talking to a lady from Germany who I'm interviewing soon, that banks in Germany are avoiding at all costs issuing loans right now. Would that relate to this in some way, possibly?
So this impacts the base level of all of it. And there's no other way to say this.
Got it.
So in regards to some of the branches, we're talking about the roots and the root causes today.
Yeah.
And so when people start to see some of the implications, like, wait, why are they sending me stuff in my name in lowercase now instead of all caps? Why are documents shifting? Why are they, why are they trying to recontract instead of answering a FOIA? Why are they avoiding that? See, the FOIAs themselves, what you're doing is you're just asking for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an encouragement to people too. When you are submitting a FOIA, you're operating in equity. You're just asking questions. You're asking for information back. You're not exposing yourself to liability. You are asking questions. But the answers are already known. And the implications of the answers are commercial dishonor, fraud, misprision of fraud, violation of compelled performance, and criminal penalties. So ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised what you get back. Just don't recontract in. And when they don't answer, you hold the FOIA itself. So if they come talking to you, show them the FOIA.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other questions?
Well, I was just thinking about the debt clock on the income.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what?
No. Go to, you can pull this one up on your phone right now. So this happened after the IRS commissioner. You might not be able to see with your blue light filter, but if you go to what is the debt clock? USDebtClock.org and look at the income tax. It's been grayed out since this.
Hold up, I gotta see this.
The number's there, but it's been grayed out.
Okay, it is very clearly grayed out. That is interesting. Like, completely different than all of the other categories. That's interesting.
Well, it's been like that since this.
What the heck, man? This is blowing my mind. This is still so hard for me to wrap my head around. And like,
that's all right.
I think it's normal to have inherent skepticism. And granted, I have not read all the Substacks. I've only read a few of them. So like,
listen, I for me, I will just point people to the record.
Yeah.
And
that's on the Substacks.
So it's on the Substacks, it's on Ethereum, it's on Polygon, it's on public record, it's filed at the county, it's in print.
And people can submit FOIAs asking for the record
and
too.
People can submit FOIAs. Hold on. I mean, here you go. So go to the last page here.
I did the same process with the birth of my son.
There you go.
Announced his birth.
Yeah. So
the publisher's affidavit.
On the legal notice section, last two columns.
I was just thinking about
this has been
income is wiped out right now, right?
Yeah. Right.
Public notice, UCC filing, and lawful redemption declaration.
Yeah. So print run, that press run right there, hard copy print readership would have been around 2 million based on the time that it ran for and the readership in hard copy. Global public notice went out. People, everywhere have seen this. So now there's a reason why we went through the process the way that we did. And it was to correct the public record, right?
Yeah.
So now what we're dealing with here at this stage is we are working our way through dishonor, those that are failing to operate under compelled performance. There's a requirement. The very people that expected compelled performance out of the living for the birth bond, now that the shoe is on the other foot, they don't like that. But this is their system. This is their world. Right now, they have to ask to borrow a chair because the very chair that they sit on is under claim.
Wow. So the reality is, the implications are, let's say half of the world became aware of this and then acted upon it. What would that then do to the financial system? What would that do to government's supposed authority? What would that do to basically the whole system?
So the system is, as it has been,
no
longer exists in law and commerce. It's only operating under inertia from what it was.
Inertia meaning that because the collective people believe in it and are
because of the momentum. It's not even the belief. The belief itself is already in print and already now. This is now the fact in law and commerce. It's just the catching
but I can
up.
see where like belief itself acts as an inertial
It will keep things moving for a while.
Right.
Until the engine finally seizes up. But what we're dealing with right now from the legacy actors is, and there's that parable in the Bible where it talks about the unjust steward, right? He knows that his position is done. But what does he do? He's like, oh, I'm about to lose my job. He goes and tries to strike every deal he possibly can on the way out the door. Let me change this guy's bill. Let me change this guy's receipt. All for the reason and the purpose of, when I lose my position, maybe some of these guys will accept me into their house and give me it.
Got it.
So that is what's going on right now in this mad scramble that you're seeing around the world. The problem is they're all under claim. They're all in default. And there's nowhere they can run and they can hide because this was their system that they had designed to enslave the living. And now they are now the debtors forever to the living estate in perpetuity. So now what does this mean? Well, this means now that the living walk as creditors. This means that the systems that we now build are being built in honor, in truth, and for what we were designed to do when we first came here. I mean, there are so many things that throughout our lives that we've looked around, we said, this doesn't make any sense. Why are you bringing energy from thousands of miles away to bring it over here, to stick it in this vehicle when Tesla created something that you just, like, this makes no sense. Until you realize that all of it is designed around extraction.
Yeah.
Everything is designed so that you don't have enough time, space, bandwidth to sit down and say, wait a second, this is not right, or it could be different. If men, and when I should say, because not if, now they'll get there. When men and women realize how much was actually extracted from them for their entire lifetime, and they were sent, and they accepted this exchange because they didn't know it could be done any differently. But you have within you the power of creation itself to make and to manifest anything.
Yeah.
It's there inside of you. And that has been harnessed and weaponized against yourself and your own family and your own family line. And now, as that is freed, imagine what's going to be designed.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So that is where we are crossing over to right now. And so we are now in the transition period. Now, the standing is done. That part is now done. The question is, as the living creditors, what do the living want to create now? What is it that they actually want to do that is in line with the source of all life and truth? Natural law. Okay, well, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. You know, how would I, or treat others as you want them to treat you? If you don't want, as the Vedas, well, if you don't want someone to do it to you, don't do it to them. I mean, these are universal principles.
Right.
These are natural law that's out there. You know, we need to recognize the divine design that's in all of this, and also to recognize too how the fraudulent has put in the divide and conquer program for the purpose of keeping people looking at everything else besides what's actually true and what's real.
Amen to that.
And so here, okay, I have a statement I make when I talk about some of the health stuff. Okay, every mother and father that vaccinates their child does it because they love their child and they want to protect their child. Every mother and father that does not vaccinate their child does it because they love their child and they want to protect their child. There's not a single one of them that is doing what they're doing because they want to hurt and damage their child.
True.
But what are they dealing with? They're dealing with narrative and narrative control and information and they're working off of that. And they get very, rightfully so, emotional and involved with it because of their love for their child and their desire to make a good decision and a good choice. Well, this is where truth is a beautiful thing. You know, if we had truth as the basis, and that is now the age that we've come into. We're already in this age. We're just at the early stages. We're in the transition period.
Right.
So, you know, this is a transitional foundational block, having cleared this. So the living will now arise. They will move forward in their standing. Those that have been doing the work, they're going to be there a whole lot faster. The people that have been trying to strike their deal with the world system, well, that system is collapsing underneath, in front of your eyes. So, you know, people chasing fiat, good luck with that, because that thing's going to evaporate faster than you can imagine. And so, you know, the fiat itself, but the credit value that was part of the living estate, that belongs to the living. And that can be deployed to support all of what mankind was meant for. So the extraction and the debt and all of those other things. See, this is the other part too, when people are like trying to access the QSIP and trying to access these, you're still going off of all of these funny numbers that are there backing a fraudulent system, trying to find a happy medium in the cage.
Yeah.
The door is open. The living just need to walk, to stand, to align, and to move forward in that truth. So the Substack, there's so much that's there that people can action today, and they can just move on. There's a lot of learning that's there. Do a FOIA. Just do a FOIA. Like, it just, you know.
Experience it for yourself.
Just experience it for yourself. And, you know, the templates are there. Ask the questions. And go through this process of not watching and observing and waiting for someone else to do it for you. Take a step, because it is the action that you take that will show reality itself who you are. And that is the part that most people miss. They want to know what's going on so they can consider it. How many people will watch this show and, oh, that's nice, and they'll move on to the next thing. Oh, that was interesting, I'll watch it again. But who will move from that into actually taking action, right? Like, who will move from that to custodianship of like an NFT? Who will pick up one of those? I mean, you know, people that picked it up, they're doing good because it's going up. So it's just, but it's like, you know, that's because will you distribute the ledger? Will you distribute the covenant artifacts and hold the metadata so people can access it? And you're one of the people that they file through to check for that. Will you send a FOIA in? You know, that just, you're going to have to print one. You're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to certify mail it. You're going to have to ask for a green card so that you can show, like this one, where here, I got the green card back, but they say I didn't get it back.
Right.
But it's here.
Yeah.
So you've got proof in hand. Will you go through that process? But it is in the doing that you are now aligning. So the battle for your attention, listen, keep your peace, keep your standing, know who you are, walk in peace. You don't need to war anymore. The fight is done. But you do need to stand and you do need to align. So stand in a line, walk in peace, know the record. You don't have to fight, and ask the questions, move in equity, because that's where we are right now. And as we do that, the dishonor of the dead, they're already sealed. They're literally sealed on chain. So now it's just the walking of this out. So the world is going to continue to change. Even these kind of conversations, and as people, they get what's actually happened and they start comparing and lining things up, and then they will begin to comprehend what they can now do. We all knew something was wrong when we got here, but public correction has taken place.
Man, I'm going to have to digest this one for a while. Man. Yeah, it's so much to digest.
Well, that's why also too, I said, if you're trying to do the reading, it's because it's going to keep moving.
Yeah.
I mean, 78 came out yesterday. And that's where the QR code came out, where, I mean, people are now just scanning that everywhere. And it's just going straight to an IPFS gateway. And they're able to just pull up what the whole legacy system has been doing everything it can to hide from people. They have been trying to hide these records so that the living do not see and do not know what has already happened. They don't want people to know what's actually happened. Because think about this regard, going back to Council of Nicaea in 1700 years ago. Okay, it is finished in spirit and in truth. And what was the objective of the system at that time? Was to hide, obstruct, obfuscate the spiritual truth and to bring in some sort of overlay to get between you and the source of all life.
Yeah.
And they've just doubled down on that over and over and over and over and over again for 1700 years. And today, you can scan a QR code and see that entire fraud has been completely wiped out, because fraud vitiates everything. The one person has been frauded out, and everyone that was a participant in that system of enslavement are now debtors to the living estate in perpetuity. That is their title globally.
Damn. Yeah, I'm going to have to sit with this one for a while. Man, Govinda, thank you so much for joining me, man. It was
a pleasure.
Epic. And yeah, for those who are watching, listening, and are feeling skeptical, as I still am too, like, go. He's brought the receipts though, like some of the things that he's shown me, like, what the hell? Go read the Substack. Go check it out. And of course, explore this for yourself.
Appreciate it. Blessings to everybody that's listening. Listen, you are the living. So it is time to stand. It's time to rise. It is time to be who you are. You came into this life for a reason and a purpose, and now is the time that you move in that. And the way is made, the door is open. So walk through.